The location of the One Piece is underwater, and so is Joyboy. Eiichiro Oda has been working for over 20 years to subliminally prepare your brain for its reveal with the help of swirls. He made sure that you would have that "how did I never notice it was right there" moment when it's finally revealed. I bet you never noticed, or did you? But here's the thing, the One Piece is located right under the gigantic current guarded by the three gates of justice. The Tri-Current. The world government and Imu are guarding this place with everything they got, and I think I found quite a bit of proof to support this theory of mine. If you're in search of fresh theories about your favorite manga, then get ready for a tainted take on One Piece. I sacrificed all of my free time over the past month to reread the entire One Piece manga again in search of proof for my theory. I saved every page that featured unnatural ocean currents, weather phenomena like tornadoes or strong winds, and swirls of all kinds to reveal the secret of the One Piece and its location. I ended up saving 832 pages of proof, but you could easily triple that, because at some point I simply stopped saving the recurring or trivial elements. This was a huge amount of work. There were so many other things I could have done or maybe should have done in this time, but I wanted to be thorough. I would love your support for my passion for One Piece, so please like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future content. Honestly, I want more people to see my ideas about the story and where it might be going. I feel like many of my videos don't get the attention I'd love them to have, so if you could help me reach more people by liking and sharing this video, it would mean so much to me. Thank you. This will be the first of two videos. In this one, I'll discuss the location of the One Piece. In the next one, I reveal what the One Piece actually is. In the SBS of Volume 7, a reader asked Oda why Sanji has swirly eyebrows. Oda's answer was the following. Everyone lives in circles. The sun, the moon and the earth all spin in circles. If the earth suddenly stopped spinning, the planet would be covered in tidal waves. It would be terrible. Now remember that Sanji's eyebrows channel the same powerful circular energy. Reflect upon this. Now hold that thought. It will play a big part in both videos, but what exactly did Oda mean by the same powerful circular energy? As he pointed out, everyone lives in circles, and he has continuously made sure that you wouldn't forget this, even if you've never seen the SBS. He's been bombarding us with swirls since the start of the series. I won't overwhelm you with all the pages I've collected, this video would be way too long, but instead I show you the ones I think are most important. The very first example you see is this one. Luffy is standing on something that could very well be the Noah from Fishman Island. As you can see, there are lots of little swirls decorating the arc, but that's not what caught my eye. This is. At first glance you'd assume this is just an unrolled piece of fabric or a scroll. But if you keep in mind what Oda said and consider all the other examples I'm going to show you, you might start to think it's actually a giant whirlpool, and that the One Piece is hidden behind it. Why is it that Oda never changed this banner, despite it looking so old and outdated compared to the rest of the manga? Anyway, right after that, we see Shanks the ship, which also features many swirls. Take a look at this. This dude's headband, and Scopper's hair. They have them too. The Gomu Gomu no Mi also prominently displays swirls. And don't forget this little boat, or how about this scene? So, you were just making a list, huh? Nah, this was just to put out an emphasis on the very first chapter, but let me tell you a little more about swirls before we go on. In Japan, swirls are quite common. You see them on Narutomaki, the little fish cakes and ramen bowls, and on flags as well. Specifically, the official seal of Naruto in the Tokushima prefecture features these swirls. But why does their flag have a swirl? The reason is the Naruto whirlpools, which are located in a channel called the Naruto Strait. The currents themselves are known as Naruto no Utsushio. These whirlpools inspired the name for Narutomaki, which in turn inspired the name Naruto Uzumaki. By the way, Uzumaki also means spiral. As you might know, Oda and Kishimoto sensei are friends. And somehow both of them ended up incorporating these swirls into their manga. Interestingly, Oda originally wanted to name Sanji Naruto, but decided against it when he learned that Kishimoto's main character was named Naruto. Alright, so Oda himself said swirls are important. We see lots of them in chapter 1 already, and we already found something in Japan that might have inspired him. But we know that Oda loves to dig deep into world culture, so let's see what else we can find. A Triskelion is an ancient symbol consisting of 3 interlocked spirals exhibiting rotational symmetry. Sounds kinda complicated, huh? They have been found on artifacts from European Neolithic and Bronze Ages, with their use continuing into the Iron Age, which is pretty darn old. Triskelions are related to both Celtic and Greek traditions. Sometimes they are even depicted as 3 legs or arms. The word Triskelion itself comes from the Greek word tri, meaning 3, and skelos, meaning 3 legs. Skelos for legs. Historians suggested that the Triskelion is the oldest symbol of spirituality. Later, Christians adapted it, imbuing it with the meaning of the Holy Trinity. Alright, so it seems like we found another great meaning for the swirls.
Oh, but what this has to do with the One Piece, huh?
Well, if you think about it, the number 3 is extremely important in One Piece. We have 3 kinds of devil fruits, 3 major powers, 3 brothers, 3 admirals, and of course Sanji, the 3rd son with swirly eyebrows. There are plenty of examples. See if you can name some more 3 things in the comments so I don't end up spending the next 5 minutes just listing them. So we've established a connection between swirls and the number 3. And what is there that prevents anyone from entering the Talai current? The 3 gates of justice. But before we dive into that, let me show you just how serious Oda is about his subliminal messaging. In our world, some symbols appear repeatedly across different cultures, such as the cross, the swastika, the ankh, or various types of stars. In One Piece, however, swirls are everywhere and utterly unavoidable. Oda manages to incorporate swirls so seamlessly that many people hardly notice them. For instance, in the first 2 chapters after Luffy defeats the Lord of the Coast in a notably swirly manner, on his very swirly boat, the first thing he encounters is a whirlpool. The anime even made this whirlpool one of the first things you see. Luffy uses a barrel to survive this current, but this marks the very first time he enters a whirlpool, but it certainly won't be the last one. But let me draw your attention to this. This is the very first marine base we are shown. Did you ever notice how it's designed? Take a look at the wave pattern painted on it. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that it clearly resembles a huge swirl. Just turn it around. Marine bases in One Piece still have the same design today. But there's more. Especially in early One Piece, many of the outfits people wear feature swirly patterns. Just look at her outfit. Or what about Whoopslap's head? There are many more. Once you start noticing them, you can't stop. How about Accent Morgan's pants? Speaking of him, remember his statue? I've got some spicy reveal about that later in the video. You'll also notice a lot of spinning action when it comes to attacks. It doesn't matter who's fighting who or when it happens in the story, spiral patterns are almost always present. For example, look here, it even says guru guru guru, which means spin spin spin. Zoro and Sanji have tons of attacks like this, and so do Nami and Jinbei. What am I saying, they? No, everyone uses spiral attacks. Sure, you could argue the rotating motions are common in many manga, but Oda seems to use them to a ridiculous extent. Yet, you might have not noticed this before. Or did you? But swirls don't just appear randomly on objects or clothing. They also show up in weather phenomena like clouds, waves and winds. Even fire is occasionally depicted with swirling patterns in One Piece. I'll go into more detail about these types shortly. Right now though, I need to talk about some of the most important uses of swirls. Whenever something ominous or strange, looming or dangerous, mysterious or frightening is depicted, you'll often see dark swirls that resemble tentacles. These swirls seem to take over the panel, plunging it into darkness and despair. They symbolize something unknown that must be faced or discovered. For example, when Khalifa and Kaku acquire the devil fruits, you can see it in their expressions. That unsettling feeling that something is not right. Oda could have used many different techniques, fading from bright to dark, ragged lines, straight lines. I've seen plenty of methods in other manga to depict situations like this, but he chose swirls. And Oda went even further. Depending on the angle from which you view a whirlpool or swirl, it can appear differently. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Are you talking about poop?
No, not really.
Aww.
What I actually mean are ringed eyes. They could technically be swirls too, right? You're just looking at them from the top. Remember what Oda said about circles. But if you think that's a stretch, fair enough. I have a whole different theory about these coming in the future anyway. But it's not just the eyes. There are countless of other instances that aren't directly swirls but can still be included. How about the floor in Loketown? Not to mention the swirls on the gate right above it. Or what about the throne that Usopp's Snow Queen is sitting on? Take a closer look at the back of the chair. And then of course there's Igaram's hair, and then we have this, and 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 you get what I mean, right? I'll keep showing more and more panels on your screen as I talk. Feel free to pause and examine the images to your heart's content. I'm confident that by the end you'll agree with me. Did you know that there's a Studio Ghibli movie called La Puta, Castle in the Sky, that features a castle in the middle of a storm? More specifically, it's located in the eye of the storm. I can't prove it, but I can imagine that Oda drew some inspiration from this. After all, hurricanes and tornadoes are basically swirls too. This aspect is crucial because we repeatedly see the Straw Hats or their ship caught in the center of storms, either being lifted up, dragged down, or transported somewhere. When the Marines come to help the people of Kokoyashi village, their ship gets sucked into a whirlpool. When the Boon swallows the Going Merry and its crew, they go down a whirlpool. When Crocus explains the geomagnetic anomaly across the Grand Line, we see a whirlpool. And even when he talks about Love Tale itself, the island is shrouded in rotating clouds.
Oh, can you tell they are rotating, huh?
Well, just look at this scene in the anime then. Swirly storms, cyclones, sandstorms, swirls, 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 swirls. The eye of the storm is crucial. We encounter it repeatedly and there's always something significant at the center. That's one more reason why I believe the One Piece is at the bottom of the sea beneath a gigantic whirlpool. But I'm not done with weather yet, because it's not always as obvious as this. Oda has subtly introduced something else that keeps reappearing, something that can be connected to the swirls. I call it... It starts in chapter 100 in Loketown, and fittingly, it's Dragon who introduces this element to the story, the guy who supposedly has a Wind Devil fruit. Ever since this introduction, whenever the Straw Hats defeat a strong enemy or enter the next arc, a strong wind carries them to their next destination, clearing up the area they're leaving behind. Often the areas where the Straw Hats arrived are engulfed by swirly clouds, but once they leave, the clouds vanish. This is especially noticeable during Vivi's dramatic plea, when she screams, "Please stop fighting!" Suddenly, a strong circular gust emerges, allowing rain to fall. Right after this, you can see circular clouds in the sky, like when Toto looks up. Following Vivi's heartfelt speech as she gazes at the horizon, the gust returns, flowing throughout Alabasta. It passes by Pearl's seemingly unnecessary grave, signaling that he's not dead yet, and streams around and out of the kingdom, which is entering a new age of peace. Finally, as fate would have it, the gust comes back to our crew and brings a huge ship crashing down from the sky right beside them. We see these winds repeatedly throughout the series. At the end of Sabaody, when it's revealed that Roger is Ace's father, when Whitebeard reveals the One Piece is real and the war is over, when Law proposes an alliance to Luffy, and also when the Straw Hats reunite in Sabaody. In chapter 602, the weather scientists of Wetharia, I hate this word, okay, the weather scientists of Wetharia literally say, "What luck we've had with these winds! They've landed us right above Sabaody Archipelago." There you have it. Even these scientists, who are supposed to believe in facts only, couldn't help but marvel at how favorably the winds moved for Nami and consequently for the crew. These winds guide them on their journey. People often joke about Dragon constantly looking to the east. Who knows, maybe he's helping his son on his adventure.
Oh, come on, man, that's kinda lame.
I was just kidding anyway, so chill. Or was I? It is the fact that the wind always seems to blow exactly in the direction the Straw Hat needs. I also mentioned the ominous swirly clouds that appear whenever the Straw Hats enter new areas. The Florian Triangle is a prominent example for these clouds. Interestingly, it's the only place where they persist even after the Straw Hats have left the area. Perhaps there's unfinished business there. We also see these clouds around the Red Line, Mihawk's Island, Impel Down, Zou, and so on. Some of you might be thinking, but Oda always draws clouds like this.
Yeah!
Well, I have more than enough evidence to counter that. How about this? Or this? Or even this? See? There are still quite a few places with swirly clouds left though, especially this one. But I'm certain that Oda is just trolling us with these two depictions of Laugh-Tale. These clouds don't need clearing because underwater there can be no clouds. What we are actually seeing are currents, just like Vivi shows us in this picture. The crew and their ship will descend a gigantic current to find the final island. And it makes sense that it's underwater. Remember, Dr. Vegapunk told us that the world was once flooded, and sea levels rose by approximately 200 meters during the Void Century, when Joyboy was defeated, so it's reasonable to assume that the location of the One Piece might be beneath the ocean. Because in the Japanese version, Vegapunk says, which is Mondai wa soko ni aru, which in turn means the problem is there, but the word soko can also mean bottom, which could change the meaning of the sentence to the problem is located at the bottom. And these two dots you can see here, Oda uses them to draw attention to these specific words. At the bottom of the sea. Remember, we heard similar words right at the beginning of each anime episode. Goldie Roger also ended with the words Kono yo no subeto soko ni oitekita. Again, soko. At the bottom. In my opinion, Roger was also pointing beneath the ocean. Before we go more into depth, get it? Because it's in the depths of the ocean. So before we do that, let me show you a few more interesting things. First, take a look at the knock-up stream. Notice how it builds up a giant swirl and it's rotating when it shoots up into the sky. Dory and Broggy's attack, Hakoku's sovereignty, it's also a swirl. On Drum Island, the mountains look like giant whirlpools. And what's at the end of them? Cherry blossoms. Not sure why that's relevant? Watch this video. How about the staircase inside of the castle on Drum Island? Crocodile's quicksand pit. Or Big Mom getting sucked into the whirlpool Wano, just like Luffy and the Sunny. Rizo's so-called magic. The fight against Foxy. Yamato's transformation. Den Mushi. And Roger's Jolly Roger. Why does it have that swirly beard? No really, why does it have that? Roger definitely didn't have a beard like that, so what gives? Let's continue. The Mirror World portal, all of these attacks, and in general, when things get serious, we see more swirls. When people are shocked or confused, they get these swirly eyes. Nami's tattoo, and all these other tattoos. Swirls in writing. And this map of Skypia. The combination of these two volume covers. Why does Oda sometimes put dots on the middle of his O's? Why are so many cities built in circular shape? What about the top-down view of the Destroyed itself? Are these flowers on the shirt swirls? Are afros swirly? The Wam Eddy looks like an afro, as Brooke points out. I get back to that in a bit. The light from this sea train is the same as in the panel with Vivi, and we have strong winds. Does that mean anything? Is the Aqua Laguna connected to a big whirlpool? Perhaps. What about Zoro and Luffy breaking through a big wave with a circular attack? Could that be foreshadowing? I don't know. And this building in Annie's lobby, it's being flooded. And it's round, just like a swirl. Almost every attack used there has swirly patterns. Many houses and buildings in One Piece also feature swirl-like designs. Oh, and Toritomo has a swirl too. Ever seen the Celestial Dragon's haircut from the side? Swirl! Fog of War and Battles? Swirls! The mangrove trees on Sabaody? Swirl! The crystal ball of Neon? Swirl!
Stop it!
I'm not even halfway done.
It's okay, I think Sefua gets it.
You think so? But what about all these swirly roofs when the Sea Kings are summoned? Or these dramatic screams that always spiral into the sky? The wanted posters, or all these swirls on clothings?
This is enough!
Okay, I'll stop with the examples. I literally could have gone on for another 30 minutes, but whatever. If you guys have more examples of swirls, then let me know about them in the comments. Currents are a huge part of One Piece, and they come in many forms, but they often end up resembling whirlpools. Take a look at the White Storm, for example. Then there are the Serpent Currents, which look like small tornadoes. In chapter 604 we learn about surface currents and deep water currents, which, as Frankie notes, are interconnected like a giant dragon. And Robin also describes the White Storm similarly. It appears suddenly and without warning, like a swirling dragon in the depths of the ocean. It's a gigantic white whirlpool. This will become important shortly. And then there is of course the Tarai current, the focus of this video. As Crocodile mentions, it's a gigantic whirlpool that connects the world government's 3 major facilities. But why am I so fixated on this current? Actually, the answer is pretty simple. Why on earth would the world government build its 3 most important facilities around it and then construct 3 gigantic gates to restrict access to the current, making it so no one can get in or out without their permission? I mean, isn't it blatantly obvious when you think about it? It doesn't make sense to build all this just to transport criminals or officials faster between facilities. That's a flimsy excuse if you ask me. And before you ask why people can just enter from the sides, well, the current makes it nearly impossible to do so. You can only enter by sailing through the gates. Or flying in, of course. But still, it's extremely suspicious. And now that we know the remains of an old civilization are somewhere deep on the ocean floor, isn't it a bit odd that the fishermen don't know about it?
Oh, wait, that's kinda strange, huh?
Let me explain. It's because they can't enter either. The current is simply too strong. Maybe the Sea Kings could, given their size and strength, but that's about it. Gloriosa explained it in chapter 522. The only way in and out is through the gates. All these are reasons why I believe that the One Piece must be down there. Also, it's a huge area. Plenty of things can be hidden down there. And there's more. Take a look at this piece of questionable art that Giola created with a Devil Fruit ability. Take a very good look. We have a huge gate, kinda looks like the Gates of Justice to me, but that's not all. Now our friend Chopper here represents a big whirlpool, and this whirlpool is literally pushing a sun into the gate and therefore into darkness. As you can see, the right door of the gate is open. On the other side we have Nami. I have to be honest, from the angles of all these 3 pictures, I cannot 100% tell what Nami is supposed to portray here, but if I had to guess, I would say some kind of golem or building guarding the open door. And then there is another element with Momo as part of it. It is a person almost hiding in front of the gate, guarding it with a long spiky crown. Is there anyone in One Piece who would fit into this role?
Imu! It's Imu!
Bingo. I know this has been a lot already, but if you're presenting a theory, you need to back it up, right? So consider everything we've discussed so far as potential proof for what I'm about to say next. Oh, and don't worry, there is still so much more to cover, but first, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I believe I actually know what the One Piece is, and I reveal it in part 2 of this theory, which will be the next video. But for now, I think that when the Straw Hats enter the Tarai current, they will encounter an underwater dragon. This dragon is there to stop them from finding the One Piece, and in my humble opinion, this dragon is Imu.
Huh? Imu is a dragon?
Why yes, there's plenty of evidence to support that. By the way, my friend Kusaland made an amazing video on this topic and also surpassed my subscriber count with it. This meme. I mean, seriously, his video is incredible. You should definitely check it out. Also, Dawn and Dusk coincidentally released a video on the same topic on the exact same day as him. Crazy, right? If that's not a sign, I don't know what is. Anyway, the links to those videos are in the description. I'll touch on a few more points that suggest Imu could be a dragon though, but honestly these 2 creators have already covered most of the groundwork, so I won't repeat everything they've said. Let's consider the hoof of the soaring dragon. Why do you think it's called that? And why are the royals on the red line referred to as celestial dragons? Could it be that they've forgotten their leader was actually a dragon? Also, if you look closely at the hoof of the soaring dragon, doesn't it resemble something else? It could be a symbol for the 3 gates of justice. Below lies the Tarai current, and beneath that, well my friends, we'll dive into that very soon. There is a recurring symbolism in One Piece of dragons being associated with openings like holes or swirls. Take this panel, for instance, where Luffy pulls Kaido from the underground back to the rooftop. Or consider this, Luffy's fist breaks through a surface to confront a dragon standing between him and the place he wants to free. This mirrors the idea of the White Throne appearing out of nowhere like a dragon. Could Imu be doing the same? The rumors speak of a black ship moving around creating whirlpools belonging to the man with the burn scar. Wouldn't it be fitting if Imu was the one guarding the last Poneglyph? Look how Kaido is falling down after being defeated, How come we see the spiral here? Why display it like that, Oda-san? There are dragons mentioned and shown everywhere in One Piece. Why put such an emphasis on them? Now let's look at Mihawk's sword, Yoru. While it doesn't directly relate to dragons, its name means knight, it does have swords on it, but Mihawk's name Dracul comes from the word dragon. And there's another supreme great blade, Muraku Mogiri, Whitebeard's sword. Did you ever notice the dragon on it? Look here! It's a roaring dragon, rising into the sky like a tornado or water sprout. The Japanese word for those phenomena is Tatsumaki, which combines the word for roll, maki, and dragon, ryu. In Japan, dragons are closely linked to swirls and tornadoes. You see where I'm going with this? You cannot talk about whirlpools in One Piece without mentioning dragons. And it's not just that. Look closely. Right above the dragon and Whitebeard's sword are swirly waves, gushing upwards. Another hint that the dragon might actually be underwater, beneath the whirlpool. Even the hilt of this weapon is covered in swirls. And let's not forget how easily Imu swallowed Sabo's fire attack. But as I mentioned earlier, be sure to check out Kusanan's video on the dragon theory for a more in-depth exploration of this idea. Now let's move on and finally wrap up the first part of this theory, because I still need to tell you how I think our crew will get to the One Piece and what is waiting for them. The idea that Blackbeard wants Boa's Devil Fruit power to remove petrification from something is not new. But my approach to it is a little different. I think there is a petrified joyboy down there at the bottom of the Tarai current, together with the One Piece. Vegapunk mentioned that the Roger pirates must have heard the voices from the past from the purest source possible. Doesn't that imply that Roger heard everything from Joyboy himself, via the voice of all things, for example? You might argue that Boa said her fruit would work differently if someone else used it. True, but what if whoever used it on Joyboy's back then turned people not to stone but to bronze instead? This could explain why Oda lets Luffy mention again and again that he wants a bronze statue. And now think back to early One Piece. Remember when I told you about X and Morgan's statue? A statue at the bottom of the swirl, and Luffy breaks it. And now do me a favor and look at this panel. A statue at the end of a swirl. Not convinced yet?
I don't know.
What if I tell you, right after this scene, Luffy uses his Conqueror's Haki for the very first time? Does that make it better? Okay, then how about this? Luffy goes all the way down to the last level of Impel Down to save Haze. And if you look at it, Impel Down is basically nothing more than a big swirl. And it's a world government facility, just like, in my opinion, the Tarai Current. Why do you think Sengoku says the following in chapter 578, when Blackbeard threatens to destroy Marineford? There is a deeper meaning to our presence here. Still not convinced, huh? Then how about this? There is knowledge hidden at the bottom of the water. Just think about what the scholars in Ohara did. They threw all of the books into the lake to preserve them.
Oh!
What I'm trying to say is that in One Piece there is often a treasure to be found inside of swirls.
Oh, but you said there is a statue!
Alright, how about this then? I'm not kidding you. You might think these are just coincidences, but there are far too many of them if you ask me. Did you notice how often the crew or Luffy enters prisons or frees people from prisons in all the different arcs? Heck, they even get imprisoned themselves sometimes. The Gates of Justice and the Tarai Current are basically the prison for Joyboy and the One Piece. Look how Reiju is freeing Sanji from his prison, wearing, you guessed it, a shirt with a swirl pattern. And why do these big gates all have swirl patterns? Whole Cake Plateau, Fishman Island. I mean, just look at this. And right above it is a freaking dragon. Do you still need more proof? Luffy will be saying the opposite of what we see in this panel. Oh, and it's an island with flying swirly clouds, by the way. He will look at the Tarai Current and say, "Take me down there." Just remember the undersea waterfall. As I already mentioned at the beginning of the video, the Straw Hats enter and escape swirls all the time. And he will be saying it to Laboon. I'm convinced that Laboon will help the crew to get to the bottom of the sea, just like how the Moby Dick emerges from the whirlpool here. Laboon will help our crew to get to the One Piece. This could basically be the view from Laboon's back, if you just imagine he's Onigashima here for a second. And Laboon will be perfect for this task because he's hardened his body over the years by slamming it into the Grand Line. It's just like Zunisha's eyes. They are depicted as dark holes, but the moment Luffy enters Gear 5, we see them light up. This could symbolize when Joyboy is finally discovered by the sun again.
Oh, who's the sun?
Yes, the sun. Well, Luffy is the sun in this case, since he has the powers of the sun god Nika. Just think back to Gioda's painting and you'll get what I mean. Look at this scene. Luffy plunges into a swirling ocean as Kaido, a dragon by the way, mentions Joyboy. And in this panel, a ship is diving down towards a circle with somebody down there. And then, right at the bottom of the swirl, we see him smiling. We had a beautiful opening for the Wano anime called The Peak by the artist Sekai no Owari. Just take a look at how many times we are looking into circles or whirlpools here. Man, they really tried to make it super obvious. Also, I really like this song. This opening is really underrated. But this circle being drawn here is written as Ku, meaning void. Need any more hints? Have you ever heard about the golden ratio? It's also known as the golden number or golden proportion. I'm not going to explain it in depth, but all you need to know is that in art, the golden ratio is often used. And guess what? It's a swirl. I'll link a video that explains the topic more in depth if you're interested. Remember what Oda said. Sanji's eyebrows channel the same powerful circular energy, which means swirls also stand for energy. Devil fruits have swirls too. So do you think Bonnie might have been the reason the warm eddy formed in the first place? Who knows? When bullets leave a gun, they rotate and spin, just like Luffy's bullet attacks. I bet many of you were already screaming, why didn't he mention the introduction boxes yet? Yes, you're right! These have swirls too. Big Mom's flag has swirls, and Roger's Jolly Roger, as I mentioned before, does too. Do you guys have any idea why that is? Why does Roger's Crossbones have this beard? Let me know in the comments if you got any good idea about this, because I don't. I have no clue. Until now, like maybe you can enlighten me. King Neptune's tattoo is also very interesting. The poneglyphs. Phantomaru's clothing. Enel's drums. And even the lineage factor, or how we call it, DNA. They are all swirls, or can be depicted as swirls. Well, I'll stop now. I think I've made my case, but know one thing. Oda already had plans for these swirls since the very first attempt at One Piece, as you can see in these panels from his very first One Piece manga called Romance Dawn. All of these are reasons why I believe the One Piece is at the bottom of the Tare current, guarded by the three gates of justice, with Imu and Joyboy possibly down there too. And in part 2, I will explain to you why I think that the One Piece is a theme park. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please leave a like and share the video with everyone you know who enjoys One Piece. While you wait for part 2 to come out, how about you watch this video about smokers smuggling garb out of Hachinosu, or this one where I explain why the OG admirals will aid the Straw Hats in the final battle.
Check him out!